Purple eye in the canyon. That's where
It's like I know them. We've met each other multiple times. And I'll just, hey, man, what's up? And they're like, man, just out here, doing the thing. It's like I'm getting a post-game press conference from them. And I'm like, dude, we're just...
always wanted to do one of those. I feel like I could do very well.
In a post-game
press conference, yeah.
What would be your go-to?
To come down the stretch there in the fourth quarter and be able to get the right guys the ball on the floor and, shout out to our coach for preparing us for that. We've been talking about it all season. And, I feel like early in the season we made a lot of mistakes just with turnovers and, no one really locked in and had a high basketball IQ or tried to, and coaches kind of slowed it down and really, and you can tell in the fourth tonight, our basketball IQ was high and, we got the ball around and we made smart passes and smart plays, and guys were able to get buckets. And to come out with a W is a big deal on a night like tonight.
Then I would have to say, dude, that was pretty epic.
Thanks.
I do have to say, the dodgy eye contact there at the end, that was like freaking primo. But then I would have to ask a question that would kind of piss you off a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where you're like, are we really here to my guys are working their tail off. So what would be like when I'm like, yeah, okay, so I heard a little bit in practice though, you guys might have had a little bit of conflict with your
Draymond and Steph were getting into it, but we like to keep that stuff real in house, and that's not a reflection of who we are as a team. It's been a long season, and
sure,
like I said, we're lucky to get a win tonight, and we'll come back out tomorrow and try to get another one.
Yeah, I'm really gonna have to push you on this though. I did hear some reports that it was a little bit more than just friendly disagreements.
No, we guys get physical. It's a physical game, so we've known that since we were kids. It was physical when we were in high school. It was physical in college. For those of us that played college ball, and it's physical, even more so in this league. So that carries over into practice sometimes, but it's all good. We keep it in house and try to keep it low.
Dude, absolutely unbelievable! What a performance!
Thank you.
I think that's where we end it.
I've been preparing for a long time for that right there.
So there are guys that I meet though, that I'm just like, hey, man, good to see you again. And that's basically what I get.
Yeah, that's not cool, man. That's not nice.
I just don't understand how you get there as like a person.
Man, I don't know. I probably think about it more than I'm willing to admit. Just the way you just interact in this business, you interact with so many people and you meet so many different kinds of people. And, and whether it's me, I think it's any business. I don't think it's just necessarily the music business. There's good folks and fake people and, good-hearted people and people that weren't raised right or people that don't have manners or stuff like that in any business. But in the music business, I feel like maybe, you live such a privileged life and such a cush life in the music business for an artist. You have it pretty good in this business. You're very well taken care of. So when you know that about somebody, or they're getting to live out their dream and they're not respectful or real or down to earth when you interact with them, you're probably like, well, that's not cool. If a guy just worked an 18-hour shift at a car dealership and then wasn't, giving you their real self whenever you saw them on the street, you'd probably be a little more understanding of that guy. You'd be like, well, he just had a miserable day.
Okay, but it goes both ways because people that do what you do still have bad days. But there is almost like a golden cage kind of thing where you're not allowed to.
My mindset's always just, I tell myself in the back of my head, I'm always doing something. It happens all the time. You're like, man, I don't want to go do this or do that. And it's like, I'm just like, dude, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
You got it so good. You could be pouring concrete, and you're not. So.
How often do you think you have to tell yourself that?
Nowadays, not as much, but, I think when you're really coming up in this business, you got to go through a lot of BS and there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't seem worth it at the time. But, I've always been super adamant about the long game and, you don't want to be a flash in the pan. You want to be around for a long time, and you want to, especially in country music, there's a very, very big respect I have for country music and truly and genuinely I think of those that came before me and my idols and my heroes in country music when I was a kid, hoping that if they ever knew who I was, they would think what I was doing was cool and was good for country music. And so I was always trying to think about that on the come up. I was always trying to play the long game, not just be a flash in the pan and try to have some longevity and be legit, I never wanted to phone it in or anything like that. But there's definitely some times you're really grinding in this business that, you know, it's easy to go there in your mind, and kind of, you know, I don't know, you kind of get a bitter taste in your mouth about some things sometimes, but you just got to kind of nut up and go do it. And
Yeah, I guess that's the interesting thing about you is most people would think like you're signed to a major record label, and a lot of times, I don't know, like in the Nashville thing, it seems like a lot of dudes they don't really have any real foundation. They move to Nashville initially, and then they get like a major record deal, and then, yeah, sure, they have a lot of success after that, or I guess perceived success. But the interesting thing about you is, and what I don't think a lot of people fully understand about the Texas market is like you were freaking rolling with buses as an indie artist, coming out of Texas.
That was my goal, though. That's how I wanted to do it. I told my dad from the very beginning, I was like, I want to go. I was like, I wanted to sign a major record deal. Like, all of my heroes had been on major record labels at some point. A lot of them had been on Universal, where I was fortunate enough to get to sign.
Who was on Universal?
Man, Straight's been on MCA, Universal MCA, which is where I signed for his entire career. Stapleton's on there. I think Carey's on there. Eric Church is on there. Eric may not be on MCA. I think he is.
The big dogs.
Yeah, huge artists.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, like everybody that my mom listened to when I was a little kid, all that old school, when country music was really pure, a lot of those cats were on Universal Records, and I knew that. I'd researched them and read about them. I was so knowledgeable about who I was like really, really inspired by when I was a kid, and I wanted to go be like them. Randy Rogers was signed to Universal Records.
I didn't know that. Oh yeah, MCA, I guess. Yeah.
And so whenever he was managing me, and he was the one that was really like, hey, you know, you can do this thing if you want to really like do it. Like, because I would tell him what my goals were, and he's like, well, if you really want to do that, let's go to Nashville and get you a record deal. And, you know, the ball was in my court. I was selling tickets. You know, we had.
Well, when you say if you really want to do that, what was that? Like, what were you?
Go like that and go do it on a big level.
Okay.
You know, like I was kind of a dork about it. I was like, you know, I wanted to have a bunch of tour buses and a bunch of 18-wheelers. And, you know, I remember watching GAC Top 20 Country Countdown when I was a kid, just over and over and over again. I wanted to go make big budget music videos like that and be on a label and record in big fancy studios. Like, that's when I was a kid, that's what the big dogs did. Like, that's, I didn't want to go play bars for 40 years. You know, I wanted to, there was a point where I was like, if I could just go play Billy Bob's, like, you know, holy shit. You know, I've been, and when we were doing that, I was like, man, I just couldn't believe it. You know, I was like, dang, we're actually playing Billy Bob's, you know. And
y'all did that, like you had already done that as an indie artist, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is pretty gnarly. So like, how do you recalibrate goals? Sometimes I tell people, you know, like if you try to explain to somebody that you're content and happy, like nowadays contentment almost comes off like a dirty word because it sounds like you're lazy. Yeah. But I feel like, you know, being content and still pushing and being hardworking aren't like mutually exclusive. You can have both.
Yeah, it's just moderation. I mean, you got to moderate everything in life, right? But I don't know, man. My goals when I still have the emails. Randy will send them to me every now and then. He would make me email him, or he would maybe like write down and type out my goals. You know, one was like, I think I put a tour bus on my 10-year goal. I had a tour bus like 18 months later. We were no record deal, no nothing. And so he was really, really instrumental in me kind of looking at that and playing, you know, thinking about the long game and trying to, you know, I feel like in music, being a good businessman kind of gets a bad rap.
I would agree.
Like, oh, he treats it like a business. It's like, well, it is a business.
It's got to be.
These guys' lives depend on me, like their salaries, their health insurance, like whether I'm good to go and whether I'm like, if I'm being successful and we're still growing and I'm still, you know, having hit songs, like they can make a living out here on our crew or in our band or, you know, our production team or whatever. Like, I've always wanted to be smart about that and not just be, you know, just it can get real messy real quick when you're not aware of all that stuff that's going on. It's a lot of moving parts. You know, I mean, you got manager, publicist, agent, record label, publishing company. You know, you got it's, you know, and that's not even on the road. You know, we've got 50 guys out here on the road that either run cameras or guitar techs, tour manager, production manager, 2 TM assistants, 6 band members, a merchandise team, a merchandise company. Like, it is a business.
Golf coach. Don't you travel
Yeah,
with
no,
your...
I need one of those
Yeah,
bad.
that's right.
But like, it is a business, and so I've always tried to be aware of that. But I've always tried to make sure that didn't get in the way of the creative process.
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, when we were selling tickets, and then we signed a record deal, I was able to be like, look, all I want is just to do what I want. Like, I want to sign a record deal, I want to be on Universal Records, but I don't want anybody running this thing.
Yeah, well,
but me.
so the record deal thing is interesting because it's like, it's partially about money, sure. Like, you get a nice payday. At the same time...
You don't really, though.
Yeah, I know. Like, you could... I know. So that's the kind of the funny thing is, like, a lot of indie cats are always... They sort of present it like you're selling yourself or whatever,
You can.
Yeah.
You can if you want.
But, like, if the ultimate... Like, why do we even make music where we want it to connect with people? We want people to listen.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes some of the indie guys, I think, stay independent for the money under the guise of, like, it's all about the art.
Yeah.
When you probably...
Go out and play for free then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I think it's kind of
free.
bullshit, to be honest. Like, it's...
Yeah. Everybody likes making money.
Yeah, and because the record labels are just going to help you get out to more people.
Yeah, that's what they are.
And then not to mention be able to work with some, like, really dope producers. Really, that's where I'm at right now, is like the people that I want to work with, I can't get their attention.
Not with that attitude.
Yeah, well, that is a great point.
I don't know, dude. And it just doesn't matter, Jarrod. None of it matters. It doesn't.
What do you mean?
You focus on, like, what you do. You write your songs. You market them how you want to market them. If you want to go sign a record label and go cut songs about trucks and beers and dirt roads and do that, do it.
That's the move.
And do it great. and if you don't have people that put out those songs, you're not going to appreciate the people that are making handmade records. Like, you don't have no rain, you're not going to appreciate the sunshine. So music's no different. And I'm like, when I was a kid, like, my brother was super hard on me and was like, we don't listen to that kind of music. We listen to Rodney Crowell and Steve Earle, and, like, that's who you want to be. And then Bingham and Turnpike came along. It's like, these are the guys, and early on it was Pat and Randy and Stoney and Ragweed, and, like, my older brother was, like, super, like, we don't listen to mainstream country. That's not who we are. And then the older I got, I was like, man, a lot of these guys are really good. Like, there's some that, sure, that's anything. But, like, I mean, you listen, like, Kenny Chesney, you listen to his early hits, there's some banger heater songs in there,
no doubt.
And, like, 30 years later, he's playing Gillette Stadium, like, every year.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's been a shift, though, with people needing to write their own music?
It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you want to write your own music, write your own music. If you don't. If you want to write half of it, write half of it. If you want to, play only bars and never sniff a record deal or never sniff the radio or never get on social media and just be that. Like, but just go hard and do it with 100% conviction.
So just be genuine, be authentic.
Yeah, and it just, if there's, it's I don't know. The longer I'm in this business, the longer I do it, like, the less I care. Like, if you work hard and you're a nice person and you have good manners and, whatever you're, like, who am I to say that your song, like, my songs aren't good? There's people that think they're good. Doesn't mean they are. Like, it doesn't matter. It's music.
Yeah. It is insanely subjective. That's all it is.
It's 100% subjective.
So how about cutting records, though? I feel like, in my experience, a lot of producers, engineers, people like that, they try to act like cutting records is, like, super objective. Like, well, no, this is the way a snare needs to sound. Like, this is what
yeah, I mean, again, it's just like the artist thing. I mean, everybody's going to have a different opinion. I don't know. The record thing is weird for me. Like, I don't have a ton of knowledge in the studio. I know how to play my guitar and sing the songs that I wrote. But I don't really have an ear to be like, that snare. I know what I like.
Sure.
I know when something's and I'm like, I like the way that sounds.
Yeah.
But a lot of time, like, I would say the majority of the time, what I think is good in the studio ends up being bad. I'm wrong a lot in the studio.
Just with general ideas.
Yeah, and just I'm like, nah, man, like I like this song's this groove, or this, put steel on this song. Maybe that's a bad idea, and it usually ends up being one. It's like I don't trust my gut instinct in the studio at all. I usually always default to the producer, and some of the times, a lot of the times, I'm sitting there like putting my foot down, like, no, this is what it needs to be, and we'll do it. And then I'm like, no, you're right. I don't like this at all. It doesn't sound good.
God, but didn't that make you feel a little bit better at least? At least you like explored it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down to go get weird with it, and just it's just like, again, it goes back to it just doesn't matter. Like, who cares? Cut the song how you want to cut the song and live with it. But a lot of times when I do that, I end up going back in. I'm like, no, the idea that John Randall had was much cooler. It sounds way better this way. And so I'm still such a fan. And I really feel like one. Like, I'm just such a fan of music. And I think I've gotten lucky to get to see the other side of it and be an artist and tour and do the thing. But I've never felt like one. I still just feel like a fan who got
that's
to go
interesting.
backstage and stay.
But that's not like the what do they call it? The Imposter Syndrome or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it is a little bit. Yeah,
I don't think I know enough about what Imposter Syndrome is.
I don't know.
Isn't that where you think
but
like you don't belong?
No, I've always kind of felt like I didn't belong. I feel like I'm still like really trying to earn my stripes. Really, I feel like I've got like my best records are ahead of me. I feel like the more time goes by, the better grip I get on this whole thing, and I start to kind of be like, man, because like I always wanted to be a country singer, but my music's never really sounded like country music.
I feel you on that.
None of it has, really.
Yeah.
Like like I wanted to sound like George Strait. I wanted to sound like Brooks and Dunn. I wanted to sound like Rodney Crowell was he's one of my top all time. None of my stuff's really ever sounded like Rodney Crowell. It's never really sounded like classic country music like I listened to when I was a kid, that I still am so unbelievably obsessed with. That's what does it for the thing in here that craves that music and needs that melody and that song to have that 3 minutes of my day where I'm good.
Gosh, but it's a good, like, you're unique. I don't know anybody else that sounds like you. Well, I mean,
I appreciate
for sure.
that. I've always been aware of that too. I've always asked my people I've produced with or the band or whatever. I've always been like, man, who do I sound like? Who does this record sound like?
Dude. Isn't it kind of lonely?
It's just kind of scary in a way, because like I said, these guys out here, they depend on what I do.
Yeah.
I depend on what I do. My family depends on it, or my soon to have a family. And so when you don't sound like something else, I don't care really, but I think about it. I'm like, man, should I sound like that? Sure. Like, if
but you don't care though.
I really don't. Like, at the end of the day, I think about it and I'm aware of it, and I overanalyze it like crazy all day long. I have for years, day after day after day, just analyzing this shit. Like, how do I like? And then, but the longer that goes on, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm just gonna write the songs, and I'm going to go into the studio and I'm going to record them and I'm going to release it.
Yeah.
And whatever the fuck it sounds like is what it's going to be.
Well, it sounds like the I don't care is more like you just hit a point where, well, I guess you care what some people think, but you don't care what everybody thinks.
care what my brother thinks. I care what the band thinks. I think the fans that are real fans, I care what they think. I want them to, when my record comes out, like, maybe it's not what they wanted it to sound like. I know it doesn't sound like the Limestone Kid. I'm not that kid anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why you make records. It's to like freeze frame that time into a few songs, and it's there forever. It lives forever, because you're going to change and you're not that person anymore. Bingham's not Roadhouse Son anymore. He's not Mescalito anymore.
Yeah.
And he'll probably never be that again. But we have those records.
Isn't it weird to think that some people wear it as almost like a badge of honor? Like, I'm never going to change.
Yeah, I don't.
Isn't that
at all.
weird?
But I'm serious. Like I truly, I get the most joy. I'm the most satisfied and the most like fulfilled creatively, man, when I just write the song and record it and quit thinking about it, you know? And so the people that, you know, are there for the fans that are there for the long run, they get it, you know? They know, like, okay, maybe this record wasn't my favorite, but, you know, I'm not dumb. I'm very aware, you know? I know I made the records. I wrote the songs, written all the songs, like, except for 2. So, like, I know which ones were good and which ones weren't.
Sure.
So I just try to, as time goes by, I feel like I'm getting better at, you know, being a country singer and being a singer-songwriter. And I don't feel like I've ever really been that good at it. Truly.
That's fascinating.
I've always felt like that. Like, man, you know, why are so many people showing up? I don't feel like I'm that good at this. I want to be better desperately. Like I want to put out better records, write better songs, and be a better performer, like, and be a better businessman. But I don't know, it feels like a slow process. It feels like I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, but what a great attitude to take. It would be very bizarre if you thought you were really, really good.
Just the shit.
Yeah. I don't, but what a weird dichotomy where you have to, that was a big word too. That was pretty impressive, boys.
I enjoy it.
Dichotomy was pretty hot.
Say it again.
But what a paradox. That's another one. That was 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Right there.
Drop them.
But like, how do you stay confident while still being humble? I've always thought that was like a really difficult line to tread, especially when you combine music with running a business. I've struggled with it big time.
Yeah.
With band members and people working for you. It almost seems like sometimes you get boxed in a corner where you kind of have to be an asshole more than you want to be.
Yeah.
And then like you are the front guy, so then immediately people are kind of ready for you to act egotistical.
Yeah. Well, people always have a preconceived notion of who you are before you ever, you know, they've seen you on the internet and they've heard things or whatever. And I've always been really aware of that too. Like when I was very young, you know, I would always see guys I would open for just belittle their band and crew and stuff, and I would just be like, "You'll never ever catch me doing that." I think I've yelled at my band one time, and I was very heavily under the influence, and I apologized shortly thereafter. That was my fault. And what I was upset about was 100% my fault.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But that was one time. It was in Beaumont, Texas.
Would you pee on something? What'd you do?
No, I passed out in the middle of the day while they were sound checking, and I woke up and I was still a little messed up, and I was mad at them for not waking me up for sound check.
Oh, okay.
Like, they were like, "Well, fuck, we tried to wake you up. You didn't want to sound check."
So, that was the one that you snapped.
Yeah, I wasn't even like, dude. I'm not that away. Like I don't snap on these boys, man. They're out here grinding just as much as I am. You know, it's a great job. I mean, everybody, it's like I said, it's better than pouring concrete. It's better than working cows all day. It's the greatest job in the world. But it's a grind a lot of the time. And I've always been very aware of that. And so I've always tried to be very thoughtful and considerate of my band and crew and make sure they felt taken care of. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I have so many guys that have been with me for so long. You know, and when I was younger, it was wild. It was a lot wilder. You know, I was not dialed at all. I feel like we're a lot more dialed now, and I like that, man. It's easier on my brain. It's easier on my songwriting and my every other part of my life when this is well run.
Yeah,
you know, and everybody's happy. Everybody's in a better mood. Things operate better. It's smoother. And when you're out here, you know, now we only play about 80 shows a year. We used to do about 150. You know, it's just a much better life out here on the road. You know, you have a chance of doing it for a lot longer if all that stuff's taken care of. But there was a while, we talk about it often. We call them like the van days, our first bus days. I'm like, how in the world did we make it through those? Because nobody knew
what they were doing,
what was going on at any point in time. I mean, we were playing big shows.
See, I don't even know if a ton of people know that about you. That like a lot of the guys that are still with you They've been there for a long time.
Long time, yeah.
Long time.
This is Jason's. It's technically his 10th year touring, but he was playing with me. He's probably played with me for 11 or 12 years.
That's so awesome. It's pretty rare too to get to your level and still have that going on.
Yeah, and that's a lot of touring acts. The majority of touring acts, it's very you're a number. You're the truck driver. Nobody knows each other. You're out there for these dates. You don't do your job, you're cut immediately. Like we're very, very family oriented out here. And so everybody I think recognizes that and appreciates that. And
y'all still get to like jam? When you first started, like a lot of your writing and stuff, was it sort of jam oriented, where you just jam with your buddies, jam with your band members?
I was kind of, when I was younger, my brother, and when I very first graduated high school, I moved to Austin, and my brother and my cousin and I lived in a house, and we had like a music room with like 50 guitars. We'd jam all the time. But then my brother moved out, and I moved, and was living by myself. I lived by myself for like several years. And I would just sit in my house all day, every day, wherever I was living at the time, and I just wrote songs by myself.
Okay.
All the time. Still do. I mean, I co-write more now, just simply to finish things.
Yeah.
But I mean, I more than any other way to create, I would rather just sit in my house by myself, preferably on a 20 milligram Adderall, and just let it out. Oh,
it's just the upper. There's no downer with it?
Nah.
Oh, interesting. Get that mind just freaking racing.
Dude, I'm terrible at focusing. So when I can, it's like, and then it's, all this stuff is just bottled up, and it's like, sit down and just hit record and just start singing. And then that's how I write songs. But just literally making shit up until, something sounds cool. Like the song Stoned. I was just sitting at my house. It was raining outside. I was watching it rain. And I said, cry when it's raining, cry when it's dark, which is not true. I don't cry when it rains, and I don't cry when it's dark. But it sounded really cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I do feel like the whole world won't ever understand my heart. That's true.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, we all have to be like pretty full of shit at different points.
Yeah.
Like pretty delusional at times.
Well, I mean, it's art, dude. It's like think about painting a picture. You might paint a couple things on that photo that weren't actually what you were looking at.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, I don't know how to, it's like I take it serious to a point, and then at some point I'm like, bro, we're freaking writing songs in America. Like we've already hit the lottery.
Yeah.
And then you take some dudes will take it serious to a point where it's like, okay, I think we may have, I'm not changing the world with this. I understand a song can brighten somebody's day and maybe alter their mood, but.
Another thing is like the song that's going to change, like there's only one song that I've ever recorded that like does it for me, that I actually listen to. Like when I'm driving, I'll put it on.
Okay. Only one?
It's only one.
Bullshit.
True story.
There's got to be more than one. Really?
I don't even want to listen to them.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I was pressing you on it.
When I listen to the Limestone Kid, I'm like, dude, I sound terrible. I'm like, it drives me crazy.
I feel you, but yeah, it was just a record at a point in time. It was recording what happened.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I wrote that record when I was 20.
Yeah, it's still so good though, dude.
Thank you.
It really is. It's really good.
I made that record for, I think like $6,000.
Yeah. Who?
Corby Schaub.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
He had just quit Ryan Bingham and the Dead Horses when I met him. After
How'd you meet him?
I was at the Saxon Pub trying to get a gig there. I was 20. I had a fake ID. They didn't know I was 20. And there was a girl, Ashley Monacle, who I had like met in South Austin, and really good singer, and was kind of playing Pooties and Saxon Pub. And she was a friend of mine, and she was playing one night at the Saxon Pub. She said, "Hey, we're going to my house. Corby Schaub is going to come over and record some songs from me in my living room."
Did you already know who he was?
I knew who he was, yeah.
Okay.
And I introduced myself. I'm like, "Dude, no, you play guitar for Ryan Bingham?" And he's like, "No, I just quit the band." This was right after Junkie Star. so Ashley was like, hey, why don't you come over to the house and Corby will record you on a couple songs. And I'd just written Who's Laughing Now. And like that day, I think I'd written that and maybe Happy New Year.
Okay.
I think maybe it was Highway. I don't know. I just written like two songs that were on one of those records. And
So you just wrote them, so they were your best ones.
yeah, well, and really like the only two songs. I hadn't really written a ton of songs at that time. I'd been writing songs for a long time, but I'd only had a few that I really was like, I'll play these for somebody.
Yeah.
And so I just written those two, and we recorded them, and we were sitting there that night, and he's like, yo, can I produce a record for you? And I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, yeah, I guess. But I didn't have any money. I didn't have a way to pay to record a record. So he's like, why don't we go cut 4 songs? And then when you have more money, we'll go cut, 4 more or 5 more or whatever, and then that'll be a whole album.
Okay.
So I cut these 4 songs. I think I borrowed like $4,000 from my dad, or $2,000 from my dad. I think it was $500 a song.
Gosh.
And cut
that is
4
still gnarly.
cut 4 songs, and that was that Red Town View EP that I put out before the Limestone Kid. Had like Permanent Headphones, Highway, Who's Laughing Now, and the Tune maybe. I think
Permanent Headphones.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
and
dope.
I wrote that a long time ago, and
That's still dope though.
I'm thinking about cutting it on this new record too.
Do
But so I cut those 4 songs. That was a Red Town View, and then I think my granddad co-signed on a loan for me. I took out a loan from Woodforest Bank in Conroe, and went and cut like a year later. Went and cut like 6 more, 7 more songs. And
So why? Wait, so that was the Limestone Kid that he did?
mm-hmm. But he also produced that EP. So those first 4 songs were put out as an EP.
Gotcha.
And like it was probably like close to a year later. I got that loan, and we went and cut, I think 5 or 6 more songs.
Well, but then after that, did Lloyd?
He produced
Maines?
Probably Wrong.
What was after Limestone?
And he
Kid?
did not hear a single song until the night before we went into the studio.
That doesn't surprise me.
It was kind of wild.
He did my first album.
Yeah.
That does not surprise me at all.
Yeah. But like we hadn't even talked about like what the record was going to say. I didn't know to do that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Sure.
Like pre-production.
So Corby didn't really do much of that either?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He kind of did it all.
Well, so it was Probably Wrong right after Limestone Kid?
It was like 2 years later.
No, but that was your next album? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why not now? Because like we were kind of talking about where you wanted to go musically and some of the things that you've been trying to do, and it just doesn't quite.
It's just I think.
Well, what I was gonna say is like, why not maybe go back to some of those people that like.
We talked about that.
Or at least bring them in just from a creative standpoint.
Yeah,
just
I
be in
talked
the
about
room.
that, but I don't really want to. I would rather just, so I had never gone and sat in a studio, just me and my guitar, and sang songs, ever, until about 2 weeks ago.
Gotcha.
And I met with Frank Liddell, who's going to produce this new record in a few weeks. And we hung out for about 10 minutes. And he was like, "You want to go record some stuff?" And so we went to his buddy's studio, and I sang like 10 songs. He just hit record, and it was just me, my guitar, and a microphone. I just sang 10 songs. And he was like, "Yeah, that's what I needed. That's what I needed to hear."
Interesting.
And so I'd never done that. And I hadn't even realized I'd never done that.
In a studio setting.
Yeah.
And
it was awesome.
Yeah,
Did
you
like,
dig it?
Oh, dude, I didn't want to stop. I'd never done. I've always just like written songs and just for months and months at a time, or I'll just write them and put them in the can and think about them in 6 months when I go cut the record, and then I'll go cut the record and go tour, and in a year I'll go do it again. I'd never just like gone and sat down and just sang into a microphone.
Huh.
And it was dope.
Do you listen to much music?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm nerding out on the music thing.
All the time.
You do listen to a lot?
Yes.
I don't really listen to much music.
That's weird.
You think it is?
That's very weird.
Okay, so it might be a little bit.
I need it. I have to have it.
Well, I guess I don't passively listen to it. Like I don't have it on as background music.
No, me neither.
Because if it's on, it's getting like my full undivided
Oh yeah, I'm in it.
attention.
I'm in it.
So I mean, I listen to it, but it's more of like an activity.
It controls like melodies more so even than lyrics, which I think is the most important thing. Like if you don't have melody, your lyrics
don't matter.
they may be great,
Sure.
but I need melody.
Maybe they don't. They don't matter. Maybe is a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, it's
but
just
I'm
it's
with you,
just a
dude.
poem with some drums or something.
I heard George Strait talking about how he decides how to cut a song or if he's going to cut a song, and he just says he just listens to the melody first.
Yeah.
If he digs it, sings along, then he goes back, listens to the lyrics.
Some of my favorite songs have been my favorite songs for years before I ever really listened to the lyrics.
Mm.
But when I put it on, it's like, I need that. Like I drive all the time. If I'm by myself, I'm deep in it. And I'll get on a song and I'll wear it out, dude. Like Old School by John Conley. I've heard that song my entire life. But in like March of this year, I listened to it again and I was like, holy shit. Like, why now?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and dude, I listened to that song 10 times a day for like 2 weeks. And now I'm not lying. And that's no exaggeration. Like I get so obsessed and so into it, and then I won't listen to that song maybe ever again. But yeah, it controls, like, I don't know. If you put on, you know, try not to think about what might have been. Remember that song? And that was then. We have taken different.
No, but I do love that
roads.
we're just deep in each other's eyes.
Yeah, while I'm singing that song.
to-
Well, dude, you listen to that melody, and it's like you could put that song on right now, and I need the full
What's the name of it?
3.5, 4 minutes. What might have been.
Who does it?
I don't know. I don't have my phone with me.
Just
Yes,
look
I
it
do.
up. Dude, there's also a freaking tune of yours. I'm going to cheese you up real quick. Where's my phone at? Anybody got my phone? Oh, here it is.
You sound like me. That's why I say every day of my life. Does anybody have my
bro.
phone or my wallet?
That's insane.
Little
Hey,
Texas.
how
That's
many
right.
times
Yeah.
My wallet.
I was wanting to say Diamond Rio, but I knew that was wrong, and I didn't want to. I'm on camera, so I'm going to get cooked for that.
Oh, no, dude. You're already.
You've
like-
never heard this song?
Is it Diamond Rio?
Goddamn beautiful. It's Little Texas.
Oh.
You've never heard this?
Maybe not. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When he hit me with a now and then.
There's no way.
Yeah. Big orchestra. See, now.
Put that on when I'm driving to the ranch and the sun's going down and I'm in my truck and I've got the windows cracked. Maybe there's a little something rolling out the window.
I get it.
Dude, it's like I need it. That's why I know I'll never be the best songwriter ever. It's because I have to have the best songs from somebody else to like survive.
Oh.
And if they're my songs, they won't do it for me.
Yeah, I think that's necessary and normal to not think that you have the dopest stuff ever.
But I have to have those. Like, it's so crucial to like me being a happy human.
Here's a theory. So growing up with so much TV and internet and so much video, like I feel like our generation maybe is more attached like visually to music than previous generations. Like previous generations had only their own memories attached to music, if that makes sense. But like now, like when I hear music, I see different things, if that makes sense. Not even necessarily from my own memory, but from like visuals, music videos, and that's kind of the way I write music too. Like I have to be able to put somebody somewhere, for good and for bad. Sometimes it's too much of a tendency of mine. But my theory is because we were so visually stimulated as kids.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I when I was 6 years old, I was obsessed with melodies. Like I remember being a very small kid and being like, why do these songs make me feel like this? Like why does this just do it for me? And I still feel that same exact way today. Like I love great songs.
Yeah, when I was in high school though, like lyrics didn't seem to matter as much.
Really?
At least in like popular music. No, I mean just generally speaking.
Yeah.
I was always into lyrics, but
I was like a weird kid and when it came to that. Like all my buddies would make fun of me because I'd be like, y'all don't know who Towns Van Zandt is? Like in high school.
Well, isn't that crazy how much that's changed now?
Yeah.
Now it's hip to be into lyrics, and like melodies kind of don't really matter as much.
I know.
Or I just hear the
they
same.
need to both matter.
I would totally agree.
Melody.
Why can't we just have both?
You should.
It drives me nuts, dude.
I think that's what makes great artists.
But everybody's just kind of regurgitating the exact same melodies right now.
Yeah. But dude, I can go from time after time.
Bro.
I can go from that to Last Thing I Needed, First Thing This Morning by Willie Nelson.
Hell yeah.
In 1 second.
See, my other thing is
And they make me feel the same.
Nobody makes music like that right now either.
No.
They still all just have to be in this perfect little box.
Yeah.
And like if you deviate from that. But that's not the way any of us grew up listening to music, and that's not the way we listen to music now.
And like everybody who grew up listening to was a great singer. Like a lot of, like, you really didn't make it if you weren't a great singer. You don't have to be a great singer anymore. It's kind of wild.
Why? What do you?
Well, they can just fix it.
You can hear it though. And like even people that don't know, maybe technically that
Milli
much about,
Vanilli would have thrived in 2024. They'd be the biggest thing in the world. They were just ahead of their time.
Yeah, for sure, bro. All right, so the freaking song is I
This
can't
one of my
remember
songs?
the name of it, but it so had a freaking Gary Allen, super vibey.
Is it
It's
Dallas?
slow, it's quiet. It's my favorite one of yours, like no doubt. Gosh dang it, what is the name of this?
It must be really good.
Dude, that's pretty impressive. Gosh, where is it? It's got like, it almost has like this like verbed out, sort of sounds like a baritone guitar at the beginning, electric, slow. It came out with like an EP kind of thing. Dude, I know
It's not Hold Me Back, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's absolutely it.
Everybody's always loved that song. We've never played it live one
Someone
time.
to hold me back. Yeah,
I'm
what
going
a
too
jam.
far.
Bro.
Me and Tony Lane wrote that the first time we
And
ever hung out.
A lot of times I don't hear you sing that low. And like I just thought it hit. So that's
Thank
like
you.
my one compliment for the day.
Thank you.
Other than that, I'm gonna be a total dick.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much to compliment. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just
But do y'all play that live typically?
never.
Why?
Never played it one time. It's just kind of boring.
I feel you.
Yeah, and like I have to play Hell of a Year. You know, Stoned is kind of like I have so many slow ballads. Like I've always struggled with finding tempo songs that were like Young Man's Blues was like a big win for me in my mind. Like I thought that was a really well written song. It was something that I think about all of the time. But it's like it's not a slow rip your heart out song. It's like, you know, it's moving, it feels good in the show. It's an entertaining part of the set. But it's not. It's hard to write meaningful songs that, you know, aren't Hell of a Year or Hold Me Back. It's like at some point or another, like I'm bored on stage. I'm like, dude, I want to stomp my foot a little bit.
Being the freaking brooding songwriter in the corner has always annoyed me. Where it's like just to be super artsy means that your show has to be.
I mean,
boring.
Steve Earle's got Copperhead Road. You know, like I'm
right.
sure that song is taking on a whole nother life than probably whatever intended it to. But like, that's a boot stomping. That's a Cotton Eye Joe. Like
I think they're harder to
song.
write, personally.
Say it again.
They're harder to write.
Very hard.
The upbeat, like anthem type.
I've got so many upbeat tempo songs that are just trash that'll never see the light of day. I listen to it, I'm like, God, that feels great. You know, like somebody needs to cut this. I'm not going to.
It's just
Somebody needs to. I really have always been super hard on myself. Like it's like I said, I've never really been able to be the country singer that I wanted to, but I felt like I've always kept the songs from a real place. You know, I feel like I've always, you know, even when the ones that are super polished and produced and clean and, you know, I've always just tried to make sure the songwriting wasn't cheap. And I hope I couldn't not do that, you know. I don't even want to sing it if it's not something that feels real.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you think it'll change? Have you thought about it changing at all? Has it changed at all with having a kid?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it certainly will be different. I've been thinking about it, you know, because like that's really what I was trying to do on this record at the beginning of this year. I was like, I'll never be this way again. Like I've been doing whatever I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it for so long. just worry free of any real responsibilities. You know, I've been out on the road for 10 years, just humping it. And so, and like that, I will always have a kid once he's here.
Yeah.
Like I'll never be, like I used to go do some rowdy shit to write songs. I probably won't do that anymore now that I have a kid. But I also don't like to do that anymore. It kind of worked for a while and then it doesn't. And so, you know, but I'm aware of that. I know I'm going to be a dad. So, you know, I'm not going to be the kind of wild. I was always like a closet wild though. You know, I always kept it very under the radar.
Okay.
But I would always just do it to fuel the songwriting. Because I was like super, like when I would listen to Todd Snyder talk about living your songs when I was in high school, I was like, I've got to do that. I've got to go live hard and live the songs I'm writing. And I'll still do that. I've always done that. But, I mean, I'm married and going to have a kid. Like, you know, I'm not out there heartbroken anymore. But I can still go there very easily. Those are my favorite songs. You look at the world now, I mean, your heart can break 1,000 times in one day just looking around.
Yeah.
There's plenty to write about.
Totally.
And I love sad songs so much. So I'll still always be trying to write those. But long story long, I probably won't write any dad songs. Maybe one. If I could write like There Goes My Life.
Sure. Yeah, but it's got to be epic.
It's got to be epic.
Yeah.
It can't be like...
It's a cheap trick a little bit. Like,
and a lot of my favorite artists, like when they did have kids and started writing dad songs, I'm like,
kind of just.
I don't like that.
I'm not a big fan of like really using my kids or my wife at all for any sort of. I can see one side of it. Like my wife will sometimes.
It's got to be epic.
Yeah.
It's got to be an I need you. You know.
If anything, mine have gone the other direction. Like most people, if they listen to my music, they're going to know pretty much where I've been at in my marriage at different points.
Yeah.
Like they're going to
do that.
hear it.
I wrote a whole song with my wife's name.
Yeah.
Before we were even dating.
Yeah. Oh, that was before y'all were dating?
Well, it was kind of while we were going through the process to start dating.
Oh, okay. Is there just like a lot of paperwork?
But I just liked her name. I just loved her name. Like
did she hear it before y'all were?
Yeah.
Ooh. You didn't play it. Did you play it for her?
No, she came to a show.
Oasis her at a party?
She came to a show. She actually came to, I think the first time she heard it was at Kane's Ballroom.
Live?
Yeah. Ooh. Sold out Kane's Ballroom. And then we hung out till like 6 o'clock. We hung out till like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Of course. And you played it live for her? Mm-hmm. You freaking dirty dog.
Yeah. And I guess she like ran into the band backstage. And she's like, I'm the girl he wrote the song about. And they're like,
yeah, right.
All right, whatever.
All right, let's see some ID.
Yeah. But she's the GOAT, dude. She's the most wonderful human being in the entire world. But I don't know. That song's, you know, it starts out okay, and then it all goes to shit in the end. So that's what I like. And she's always like, "Can you write one that's happy?" I'm like, I don't think so.
Not possible.
Not possible. Maybe like I'm saying, like the song "I Need You." Tony Lane wrote that for Tim and Faith. Like,
yeah,
epic song. I would write some shit like that.
Yeah, well, but that's not sad. It sounds
sad.
Sounds serious. Maybe that's it. Mm-hmm. You're just serious.
Yeah, I think that's necessary, especially in country music.
I agree. Yeah, there's like an epicness to it.
Just I don't know, dude. It's have some integrity in your songwriting.
Yeah, but that comes down to a lot of melody. Once again, it always like comes back to melody.
It's all melody, dude.
Because even George Strait's, like one of my favorite songs of his is "Run."
Mm-hmm. And Tony Lane wrote that too.
That song lyrically is kind of lame, really. Yeah. "Baby Run."
Yeah.
Like, come on.
But have you heard Tony's version? The guy who wrote it.
No, well, I'm not even.
It's epic, dude.
Melodically and chord progression, it's freaking insane. It's so good. Also has like a sting thing to it. You ever noticed that?
I have not.
It's got like a police sting thing.
I'm all about that.
Think about like, oh my gosh, the beginning of "Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic."
Yeah.
It's like the intro to that song.
I'll have to check that out. I'll just see if I can.
Which if I nailed that That would be pretty awesome.
It would be
If
awesome.
the guy was like,
they may not want to know about
holy
that,
shit,
though.
he found out.
They may not want to know that you know that.
Yeah, right.
No, Tony Lane wrote that song, man. He's a really good friend of mine, and we wrote "Hold Me Back" together.
Oh, see?
Yeah, he's incredible, man. He's one of my favorites.
I'm not kidding. I wasn't just bringing that up. Like, that song's epic to me.
Thank you.
When I first heard it, I was like,
That was the
gosh,
first time
this
I didn't know him.
is- that was the first one y'all did?
The first we sat down, we'd known each other for 5 minutes, and he had the little "From going too far, from going too fast," and I was like, "Spinning downhill, headed downhill, just like a heart attack."
Oh, yeah, it's good, dude.
He was like, after that day, he's like we're bro. He's like, I don't know. He's much older than I am.
Yeah, I mean, he's what, is 60s, 70s?
No, he's not that old.
Oh, gross. No, he's not.
Shit, Tony maybe. I don't know. He'd probably see this and kill me. I don't know how old Tony is, but
Well, that's good.
he writes like he's 150. Like, he's incredible. He's like Guy Clark's kid or something.
Yeah.
Like, his voice, the whole thing. He's one of my favorites, dude. He's on Spotify. He's cut all those songs.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to
He
go
has his own versions. His version of "I Need You" is unbelievable. Wanna ride across West Virginia,
Yeah.
backseat of a Cadillac.
Yeah.
Know some cowboys like me go out like that. I mean, shoot me.
Yep.
I mean, you dream about riding some shit like that, dude.
But it's also like, yeah, it's epic, but then it doesn't come off as cheesy.
No, not at all.
Well, which I don't understand how you do that.
I think it's what makes the great ones great, man.
It is.
I want to do that. I do not, like, I don't know. I don't have any interest in writing songs. "Burn It Down" was even kind of on the line for me. You know, I just thought it was well written. I never thought it would be the single or anything.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it just went platinum. I never thought that song was going to be that successful.
I didn't either.
And so, but like when we wrote it, it was slow and
Dude, you
ballady.
got to give me a chuckle.
But I honestly didn't even hear what you said. I was thinking so hard about back to when I wrote that song.
If you just let that one slide by, I'll feel bad about that.
No, I have no feelings, man. You can't,
Okay, perfect.
you can't hurt me. I don't have feelings. You can't in this business, dude. I mean,
No, they
people.
left a
It
long
doesn't
time.
matter what you do. You could go save a kid with cancer from a burning house that was about to get eaten by an alligator,
You did something wrong.
and somebody on the internet is going to be like, "Well, you should have done it quicker."
Yeah, why didn't you take your
know?
shoes off before you got in the water? Now you freaking tainted the water for the alligator.
Just it's so you just I don't know. It's I don't know. I've gotten good at just tuning it out, and that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just not caring. It's like, man, somebody's gonna have something to say regardless of what you do. So
No
just
doubt.
say fuck it and do it.
Yeah, totally.
Just roll the dice.
I'm with you.
The realest you can be possible. And if it's good, cool. If it's not, go do it again. Try harder.
Yeah, because I know you're not interested in just being milk toast, like being something to everybody. That sounds pretty lame to me.
No.
If you're doing anything relatively special, there's going to be some people that hate it. Mm-hmm. Like it ends up
I'd
being
hate me
fine.
too.
You think so?
Yeah, probably.
Which aspect of you would you
Just
hate the
not very
most?
good, but able to have quite a bit of success in this business. I think it's pretty impressive, honestly. Like Chris Stapleton, him selling out stadiums, that doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
I expect that. You're incredible. You're one of the greatest of all time.
Okay.
I fully expect you to be very successful. If I was not me and I was listening to me, I'd be like, kid's never going to make it.
Sure.
Very impressive that he made it. Probably shouldn't have.
Imposter syndrome.
Still trying to make it. That's something I say very often.
Well, what is making it? That's like the ultimate existential.
Man, I think about this every day, Jarrod. Every day for years and years. I think, and for a long time for me, it was like playing these kind of venues or buses and trucks or, number one hits. Or I was always like, when will I feel like I've made it? One, I don't want to. I mean, it's so cliche, but like the journey really is the shit. Like that's the pudding right there. Like once you have the big house and your dream car and the ranch and all that, it's like, okay, got this. What now?
Okay.
And so for me, like when we were talking about goals earlier, that kind of crossed my mind. I was like, dude, my goals now are like my dad being proud. That
So dope.
like really, truly, and genuinely, I'm like I could cry when I do cry when I think about it. Sometimes I get like teary eyed. Sometimes I'm by myself thinking about it. I'm like, I hope that some bitch goes to bed at night and he's like, well done, son. Well done. Like, you carried yourself well. You represented our family well. You know, you married a good woman. You know, you're still doing it, you know, and pretty successfully. You know, never been arrested, no scandals, nothing like it. I really hope my family is proud. That's like the big, and I hope that in 10 years, they're still proud. And that is like that's my goal.
That's great, dude. It's bigger than just things and stuff.
Yeah, that's what this new song, we're gonna play it tonight. It's called Big Old Fancy House, but it's really what it's about. It's probably not very well written about that, but that's where the idea comes from.
Yeah, dude.
It's real though, man. Because I think you're always like, I'm always looking, you know, because I was able to do quite a bit very young, and you know, and I got to reach a lot of my goals very quickly, and I was just like, this is it. This is what I worked so hard for. You know, it's cool, it's dope, but it's not. I'm like, why am I? That's why like the last album was called Never Enough. I'm like, what is enough? I was like, my family being proud's enough. You know, my wife being happy, that's enough.
Yeah, I've always thought it was a little bit peculiar that when people ask you what your goals are, how uncommon it is to like give an answer like you just gave. Like, you know, when people typically think like financial goals or, you know, whatever, professional goals. But if you were to answer those questions like, man, I want to treat people better than I do today.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it weird that that's a bizarre answer to that question?
One of my goals is to raise this kid to have impeccable manners. Like, that was such a big thing when I was a kid. Like, I mean, it was serious business. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. You know, blessing before the meal. Take your hat off when you meet a lady. Like, that shit was no joke. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, this is kind of goofy, you know. And now I'm like so grateful that I was raised like that. And I'm like, I tell Halle Ray, I'm like, this kid may be the dumbest son of a bitch, just like his dad, but he will have
but they're gonna like him.
He will have impeccable manners. Yes, and like that's another goal. I'm like, if I was to write a song about my kid, it would probably be something about that.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and so I don't know, man. It sounds real old man, but old men are smart, man. They've been living for a long time.
No doubt.
They got it pretty figured out.
Yeah, you can go that corner store and get some coffee in any small town at like 6 a.m.
And my granddad used to tell me when I was working from on the ranch, he'd be like, shit, one summer up here, you don't need to go to college, boy. Which he was such a lie. He was like such an educated man. Like he's very, very educated, very smart, great cowboy. He was always just joking about that. But I think about that nowadays, and I'm like, man, nowadays, maybe back then that wasn't true, but now what you're going to learn if you go out there in the world and go to school versus what he could teach you.
For sure.
It's probably a lot more valuable.
Is he not with us anymore?
No, he passed away right in the middle of recording Probably Wrong. And I think it was in the middle of those 7 nights at Cheetah, or 7 Tuesdays at Cheetah Street we were doing. My memory may be wrong. I think that's somewhat correct. But I've got his initials tattooed on my arm, but he was the man, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, just
what was his name?
Bobby Yancey.
Bobby Yancey.
Yeah, he was a pimp, dude. He was a true definition of the American dream. My dad's dad is too. He didn't cowboy, but my mom's dad. My mom was barrel racer, and she was younger, and Uncle's rode rough stock.
Your mom was?
Yeah, back in the day. She was good too.
Yeah. That's what my wife trains barrel horses.
Yeah. And you know, I don't think my kids will ever rodeo. You know, honestly, I don't want to put up with them doing it, to be honest. But if they wanted to, obviously they could. But you know, I was very fortunate to have that as a kid, and like, you know, I think that makes it's quite a privilege. You know, I mean,
what did Bobby do?
He bred quarter horses, and I mean, he was massive operation, dude.
Gotcha. Okay.
Big time. And we still have both those ranches, but the operation hasn't been the same since he passed. And he was running that sumbitch till, I mean, the week before he was down. Like, he was OG. He was judge of my hometown, Montgomery County, when he was like 23 years old.
Ooh, it sounds like a movie.
Yeah, I've talked about that.
Yeah.
his life could be a movie.
Yeah, sounds pretty.
But
epic.
he was crazy, dude. Both my grandparents are just the definition of the American dream. Like, came from nothing and just did. I mean, it's crazy. And
That's so awesome though that your grandpa got to see what you did though.
Man, he did a little bit. He
I
wouldn't
guess
believe
too,
it now. He was really the one that was like, he loved country music. Loved. And he would not have, like when we played the Houston Rodeo, he would have been like beside himself that one of his grandbabies was doing that.
Well, so I guess he didn't get to see like the most epic part of it.
It was still, I mean, we were playing,
I mean, y'all were still freaking.
I think we were doing like Cheatham Street and like Brewster's Ice House and
Yeah, but
stuff.
you were selling out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm selling out.
So it's still pretty epic. It's just all relative.
Yeah, like I have 3 grandparents left, and they're like, every time I go home, they're like, you know, everywhere we go, you know, somebody's got you in the paper. It's
Dude,
pretty
is it?
wholesome.
That's gotta be a pretty weird deal of like seeing how family members react to things.
My
and then-
family's been great, man.
Well, but even just teaching them how to like operate in
There was a
some
little bit
ways.
of a learning curve there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not like they have to be a different person, but like, hey, you need to expect this to happen. This is how,
Yeah.
because it is just like, what? I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's people don't realize that when they come to your show, like I'm at work, you know, yes, I live on a traveling bar, but I don't really drink hardly ever. But I did for a while. Never really had a problem with it. It was never one of the things I struggled with, but I just never really liked it. But you know, people come to the show and they're coming out, even like your family, they're coming out to have a good time.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this is the 72nd time I've done this year.
Do you think it gets easier at your level? Because like my deal is still tough because I'm going out to the merch booth and doing that whole deal.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey guys, I am still for real working.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we used to play Billy Bob's, and I would go out and do the merch table thing.
Right.
Well, there'd be 2,000 people
Yeah.
waiting in line,
Yeah.
and like family members would bring whoever they wanted and just cut all 2,000 people.
Oh,
And I would just have to be like, look, guys, like you can't do that.
No.
You know, like one, y'all all got in here for free. These people paid money to see the show. The show really wasn't very good. If we're all being honest, you know. It was pretty mediocre, pretty underwhelming. I think some nights I still am. But I'm like, these people paid to see the show, like, and they're waiting in line and they're being very respectful, and they would like a picture and to sign their shirt.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it
that's a
doesn't
fun
look.
combo to have.
Yeah, I don't know, man. My family's been overall, they've been really great.
Well, it's like it's oftentimes not the immediate family. It's like the
Oh yeah, there's people coming out of the woodwork.
the peripheries.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine at your level what that's.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I've just always said it's a good problem to have. You know, if that's what you're dealing with,
that's a good attitude.
you know, it's nobody wants to hear you bitch about that.
The funniest thing is like, yeah, no, I feel you. I got
Nobody,
you. Yeah, no, I got you.
nobody wants.
I would listen. I would listen to
My
you.
dad would be the first one to be like, "Hey, shut the
up.
fuck up."
Yeah, but like I've always thought it's funny. Immediate family will like buy tickets and stuff.
Yeah, my dad will buy tickets.
Yep. Yep. Has he always done that?
Not always, but they kind of over time they were kind of like, okay, they started to get it.
Yeah.
You know, especially like when we'd go play in Houston. You know, I grew up in Conroe, which is like 40 miles north of there. I mean, we'd have 250 people on the guest list.
Yeah. I do it with other
I met my
musicians.
parents' UPS driver one time
What do you mean you
in
met
a
him?
meet and greet.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did
And
he
like the meet and greet was over, and they were like, "Hey," they like came onto the bus, and they were like, "Hey, there's one more," and I think it was their like UPS driver. It comes by, it brings their packages, and I was just like, "Guys,
actually makes for a pretty great story now.
yeah." But I was like, I was like, look, like, you know,
You brought the UPS driver.
yeah, he's a 50-year-old man.
What can Brown?
You know?
Wait, that's not Brown, is it? What can Brown do for you?
Yeah,
Is that UPS?
Yeah,
I nailed it.
Well done.
Stuck the landing.
well done.
Look at me.
But it's like I said, man, it's nothing to bitch about. You know, the fact that your family's even there
Yeah, sure.
at all. You know, like I mean, I still have both of my parents. My brother, my sister. My sister has 4 kids. My brother has a stepdaughter. Whenever they come out, I'm just like, but like a lot of times they'll come out and they'll bring 10 people with them. And so I'm like, I don't want to see all of those people. I would like y'all to come to I want to hang out with my family when
No
they come to my
kidding.
show.
Yep.
But I don't really want to hang out with all of these other people. and because I'll probably see them when I go to your house next week. But like, so like a lot of times I'll just, and like I said, you're working, dude. Like, I have a routine. You know, like I'm very in my own head about a lot of things. I overthink a lot of stuff, but like, I can't swing in at 9 o'clock and play at 9:30. Like, I need to be on my bus for an hour just thinking about what we're about to go out there and do every night. Like, sometimes just in silence. I'm just like, okay, playing show very soon, about to play show, you know?
Yeah, so you're not like an A-type kind of personality. Like, you're a personable person.
I try to be, yeah.
But
I like to be.
But like me, I like hanging out with people and stuff, but I get like super drained.
Very quickly.
Like I get socially maxed out.
And it's probably Saturday night. You probably played Wednesday night, so you're on your fourth night of doing this.
Yeah. The perception might be to get up there in front of a bunch of people, though, is that you got to be some big, like, boisterous A-type personality and stuff, and you just love the attention, that kind of thing.
No, not at all. I like to stay as low key. That's what I've always respected about George, man. You know, like, great songs, great everything musical's been, his career's been incredible, but like the most impressive part is how he's carried himself. You know, you don't see no bullshit about him. You don't see it's very, very under the radar, just as gangster and G and classy as one man can be.
Only played the Opry one time. I just went to the Opry for the first time last week, and I found out that fun little factoid. Because honestly, I was looking around and I was like, man, this is cool, but when they ran like a Ford commercial in the middle of it, damn, dude. So that was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on. And all right.
Purple eye.